You were listening to chartingwealth.com for Friday the 13th of April 2018. We see Thursday wrapped up with a great day for stocks. We saw the S&P 500 up 0.82%. The Qs, the NASDAQ 100 up 1.20%. We saw bonds down 0.73%, gold down big 1.16%. Let's jump into the S&P 500. Looks like we're ending the week up. Now again, we'll have to see what happens Friday, but so far we've got a green doji. That means lots of indecision tending up. That's what our Heikin Ashi candlesticks show us. That's also shown by the fact that the price percent oscillator has pretty much gone flat, still headed down. Derivative oscillator continuing to lose downward momentum. As we dig a little deeper, we see that we have our fourth candle of up movement, third strong up candle. In fact, this one is the strongest, the latest two-day candle. No down wick on it like the two prior ones, just an up wick. Green open box, which is our strongest. It's pushed through the weekly trend line. It has pushed through that quite solid. We don't have a crossover going up yet, but we do have some strong movement up. As we look at the 4-hour chart, of course, it crossed over going up way back on the morning of the 12th. Well, yeah, pretty much close to it at the end of the day. I'm sorry, I said the 12th. I meant the 4th of April. The 4th at noon, the noon candle on the 4th of April. Crossed over going up, went up for 4 days. Well, yeah, and then started petering off and dropping, but then started moving up again quite strongly on the 10th and has continued to move up. So that's where we are on the S&P 500. Still confirmed down moves, but things they are a change in that downward momentum appears to be, at least so far in the short term, slacking off and the stock charts moving up. What do we see on the Qs? A bigger green candlestick, not so much indecision on QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, but we see a green, solid green candle, again, with a wick on the bottom and on the top. But again, it does show indecision, the spinning top, not as much as a doji tending up. We, of course, see, again, the third strong up candle, green open box, and in fact, a nice one. Hasn't quite pushed through the weekly trend line. Derivative oscillator heading up quite nicely, and the price percent oscillator losing energy. And as we look at the 4-hour chart, we see that on the 4-hour chart, we can track and see that, of course, we had it crossover going up in the afternoon on April the 4th, and we continue to see up movement. Just doing a little experiment. You know, we're always tracking things and messing around, and we were doing some tracking using our price percent oscillator and just seeing how we were trying to draw some trend lines and sort of watch changes in trends. And we really saw that happen when the 2-hour price percent oscillator bottomed out starting on the 26th of March and continuing on until the 3rd of April, and then decidedly turned around. Again, we're always doing experiments, always checking out new ways to be more accurate on these charts. And we encourage you to do so too. It's one thing we teach is there is no orthodoxy, okay? You do what works. And if it works, you do it. If it doesn't, or you can do it better, keep experimenting. That's why we practice trade all the time. Top traders are always practice trading. They're not just trading for money all the time. And as you're training and learning, you should be practice trading and training all the time. Okay. To TLT, what do we see? Down 0.73%. We had that weekly vertical crossover going up. Derivative oscillator continuing to gain upward momentum. Price percent oscillator still headed up on the weekly chart. But as far as the Heikin Ashi candlesticks go, we see a lot of weakness. In fact, prices moved below the weekly trend line, well below the 2-day trend line. Again, as far as our indicators go, we're seeing up pressure, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing really a sideways slide. Now, we do see the last 2 days, we had a doji back on the 2-day candle ending on the 10th, and this latest candle got a wick on the bottom, a larger wick on top, green open box. But again, price percent oscillator's flat, derivative oscillator losing energy on that 2-day chart. Don't have a crossover yet, but a lot of weakness, and we're getting prices really near on the 2-day chart, near that weekly trend line. So again, not a lot of strong movement in TLT, and you would not expect bonds to be doing strong if the market's doing well. And again, with the market recovering, that's what we're seeing. Bonds going down as one would anticipate. We had a 4-hour crossover going up back on the morning of the 11th, Wednesday, but then it crossed right back over going down on the morning of the 12th. And again, pretty strong down movement, piercing the weekly trend line. So again, and the derivative oscillator flipped over going down. So keep your eye on that. Again, we'll wait to look and see if and when we have a trade in a good jumping in point. We still have the weekly and the 2-day going up. So again, we had a jumping in point, and then things just rotated right back over, heading down, which of course is pull the plug time at noon. But again, that's we are not, of course, as we talk about over and over, how important your trading zone is. What do they say? Sell in May and go away, live to trade another day. Why is that? Because once we get out of the fall-winter trading zone, that really fat good time in the market where the stock charts, as we saw over and over and over again, move in solid directions typically for extended periods of time. As we get closer and closer into May, as the weather gets warmer and more of the money and the volume goes out of the market, it gets a little more hectic. And again, a lot of things going on in the world. So back to the weekly chart. What do we see going on in gold? Well, gold, of course, on our weekly chart crossed over going down back on the 16th and went up for 2 weeks after that. We saw some stalling and a spinning top on the week ending the 6th of April. And then so far this week, up week, derivative oscillator still negative. Price percent oscillator, it looked like it was going to cross over going up, pulled back over with that big down move on the day. So we see that the weekly chart is down. When we look at the 2-day chart, it's trying to cross over going down, but it's just laminating. You know, we changed it over yesterday, hoping that we would have some solid up movement, but it looks like we're probably going to have to rotate it back over going down. Big wick on top, pulled back, and again, we'll just sort of wait and see what we see on gold. Don't have a trade at this point. We see on the 4-hour chart how it crossed over and booted up strong and then rotated right back over in the afternoon on Wednesday, headed down. So again, till we get some clear movements on these charts, we'll keep looking for good trades. Folks, that's where we are as we end the day on Thursday, go into Friday the 13th. We will see what we see. And of course, at the end of the day on Friday, we'll produce for you the comprehensive review and forecast for the week. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team here at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.